Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. We're delighted you're in class with us today. Nathan is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains, right here from the farm. And Doc Ram's with us today. Dr. Richard Allen Miller. His website, docram.com, DOCRAM.com. Richard, also RichardAllenMiller.com, Richard, ALAN Miller.com. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning. And I need twice the volume. It's real low today.
All right.
Thank you for adjusting those pots if you can. I don't know if it'll help me, but I don't like to hold this phone up next to my ear. I'd rather have it on speakerphone and hold it away from my body. Mm-hmm. I also have a artificial arm. You know, my left arm isn't really actually real. It's bionic, and so I can't actually hold it up to my ear very long because I have no elbow. Very awkward.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see what Nathan can do.
Of my arm, but the Amish came.
What do they call that? What do they call it? Too much.
A whole new way to blow my nose, and I love the Amish. The Germans are so practical.
I'll tell you what, Rick. I'll tell you what. Let's skip that.
I just thought I would start the morning off being ornery. The first thing I did this morning when I turned on my computer, I want to read this one to you. This one, I focused this under weird email, and it's ticket 670 something or other, dated 12/7/18. That means it'll be at the top of my list, you know. And it says, "Hello there. Hopefully you will not care about my English language sentence structure, considering that I am from Denmark. I contaminated your system with a virus, and I'm in possession of all of your personal information from your operating system." That's how it starts off. Now, this is something I got this morning. It's the first thing I do when I wake up. And I have found an IP address on this guy, and I'm going to send the federales after him. I've had enough of this. They think they can use Tor browser to hide, and I found a way to get into Tor browser and find the backdoor address. And I'm declaring war on everybody that does this. And if you are being harassed, I now have advice on how to fight this back, because this is rampant. I don't know if any of you know this or not, but your camera on your machine, and all laptops have cameras, I don't know, and cell phones, whatever, they're always on. And they're always on, even when there's no light lit up. I had a friend visiting me. He was sleeping down in the library, and in the middle of the night, his computer turned on, and it started taking pictures. And then it tried to turn itself off when he woke up and noticed that it had turned on and was then now turning off. And it happens to all of you. And the correct way to do this is, when you're not using your camera, you put a piece of duct tape over the camera where it shoots. And that includes your cell phones. Now, I'm being harassed by all kinds of things, and some of it's real, and some of it isn't. And this is part of what is called gang stalking. And I'm putting everybody on notice that I have decided that I'm going to chase this windmill. I'm pissed off. And, you can't go, oh, boy, this will be fun. The game's on. You betcha. You betcha. And I'm going to get you, just like a man from Mars. I'm pissed off, and I'm going to do it. So whoever's out there listening, because it isn't from Denmark. By the way, I happen to know which state you're in. And the thing that bothers me the most is that most of it is random. It's like fishing or freaking. I don't know how they pronounce that PH one, where they'll drop a little scare tactic on you to see if you respond. Now, how they got me? Are you interested in this? Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
and I've got a comment.
I can. We have things to talk about, and I don't have to do this, but this one is bothering me, and it's because I am been under assault from so many directions that I'm now going after individual little things to confirm whether they're random or they're part of a bigger picture. And guess what I'm discovering? Yes, they're both. And that's the bad news, is that you really ultimately may never know. That's how it works. And and the people that are being targeted are the most brightest. There is a video on my website, go back about a week and a half. Grace Thorne requested Julie and others watch it. Good morning, Grace. That actually is an individual that worked at SIS in Seattle. This is where it developed. I started the voice to skull research in anesthesiology, and now it's a private, being used everywhere kind of business. Amazon used it in 2007 when they put a big video up on top of a wall in a city, Seattle, and it played the video, but there was no sound except you could hear it in your head. It was the first demonstration of how this works. That's one of the reasons I'm after Amazon. It turns out that I'm getting down to it now. There is a rogue unit within Amazon in Seattle at the highest levels that is about to be exposed. And I've tried to be nice and what we call corresponding. And what I did is I have an old fraternity brother that he was Sigma Nu. He's a top criminal lawyer in Pioneer Square, like I'm a physicist. And he's helped me figure out, he's down in Pioneer Square, he has helped me figure out who's doing it. And I've got several names. And am I going to hurt them before I even get to court? I've had enough. They have ruined my life. They have essentially ruined my relationships with people because I'm always whining and I'm always depressed. And who wants to be around somebody depressed? And this gang stalking protocol is absolutely real. It is a technology that should be used in the secret laboratories of military. It's not. It's done by civilians, rampant. They've been working on the homeless in Seattle, and I have drawn some lines on what is morally correct in terms of engagements in war. And Lao Tzu applies, and there is going to be blood. I've had enough. And I watched last night a movie called Ender's Game. That's about our children being smarter than the adults, and so they're the ones that run the military. It's called Ender's Game. It's an excellent book. I read it when I was a child. I have integrated that protocols into my own well-being, and now I've had enough being a sweet old man. And if you don't think I'm going to rip, pillage, and destroy, I'm going to have fun at this one, too. You know why? Because it's going to catapult me into politics. And the next thing we're going to do is talk about how Will Rogers did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I had to say for this morning. What would you like to know about?
Okay.
Software.
Okay, I've got
people helping me.
I've got a comment, Rick, and it dovetails with what you're saying. So we reported well over a year ago that there's a technology, a little bit of software that is used by people who are interested in spying and hacking. And what it will do, and you mentioned covering your camera on your notebook computer or your computer with a piece of, black electrical tape. Yep, that works really well. What these guys have done is they've enabled they have software that will switch remotely the camera and the microphone port. And so if you say, well, let me turn off the camera in software, they can switch the microphone to the camera, and they can use the camera. And I remember back in, probably in the 90s, meeting in the conference room with a technician, and he showed a bunch of girls in a dormitory, and what happened was, they had their notebook computers, and they left them on their beds, and wherever they were in the dormitory, and these parasites were remotely hacking into their notebook computers and using their cameras to watch every move they made. And so they could listen in. They could listen in with the microphone on the notebook computers or the desktop computers, and they could watch what was happening through the camera. So I'm not interested in having a notebook computer with a camera. And I hardly ever use a notebook computer.
The bad news on that, Vincent, they now have small drones. We'll call it a fly on the wall. Mm-hmm. And that's how small they are. They're little drones. Mm-hmm. They are less than a quarter, maybe less than half an inch. They're very, very, very tiny, small, and they buzz. They make a little buzzing noise like a bee does, and they come through, and they're little drones that they are making that kids can buy because they are being deployed in almost everything. And the insects out in the woods now, who knows what it really is?
Let's talk more about this
that we're having in today's society. It is usually if it's cookies made with real Girl Scouts.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Doc Ram's with us, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, and we're talking about spying. And, class, smoke detectors are required in most living spaces, even workspaces. And if you see them, they're on the wall, they're on the ceiling, and you just don't think about it because they're everywhere. Well, smoke detectors can easily contain a hidden camera, and that's what's happening now. Smoke detectors are being deployed and outfitted with hidden cameras, Wi-Fi, and
Thank you for making that note. Everybody needs to understand we are already being surveilled on levels I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm like generals, people out there, I can envision the possibilities, but I had no idea. And what Vincent just said about smoke detectors, quadruple that with light bulbs and other kinds of ordnance. That's what I'm calling it now. That has been scientifically designed to be invasive.
Okay, let's continue then. All right, so class, a microphone and an audio speaker operate on similar principles. Okay, they turn sound into electrical voltages. And so a microphone is like a speaker in that it has a diaphragm. And when the diaphragm is moved by sound, it creates an electrical current that can be amplified. And that sound can be captured, of course. So think about what if your speaker on your computer was turned into a microphone, if they switched the speaker and the microphone ports. And I believe they can do that through software. As a matter of fact, I know you can do it through software. Okay, so let's continue. Now, what about if you have an apartment? You're renting an apartment. Can landlords install cameras in the public places? Well, there's no federal law saying no, they can't. So they can. Okay, so and a person that's renting an apartment can put cameras in also. So now what we're looking at is the eeriness of you go into someone's apartment and they may have a camera installed. They may be watching you, and you're not thinking about that. You're thinking that, this is a private setting. Or if you go into someone's house and they've got cameras, and, normally you would see them in a business. You look up and you see these little black domes, above the cash registers, and the black domes above the sporting goods section where they're afraid people might steal things. So you see that, okay? And in Walmart, you see multiples over the cash registers. The cashiers, you see lots of them because they're being monitored. But you're being monitored all over the store. And if you go into a Walmart, as you pull into the parking lot, you're on camera. Well, how about this? How about small cameras? Well, things that you might not think of as being able to contain a camera now do. So let me give you an example. There is a wall outlet that has that converts a standard duplex outlet, meaning two electrical sockets in a receptacle, so standard wall receptacle. Well, they now make a wall plate that goes over that, so you can have not just two outlets, but you can have six, and you can have your Wi-Fi charging port right there, or two of them, and a camera built in that's Wi-Fi. So now you have six outlets, a Wi-Fi camera that is watching everything that's going on in that room, and two charging ports. And what does it look like? It looks like a six-port or a six-outlet wall cover. Well, let's take it to the next step. Well, let's say a person wanted to have something that is less visible. Let's say a person wanted to have a wall outlet, ivory or white or brown or whatever the color may be, to match what the outlet was in that particular room. You take out that outlet, you replace it with another outlet that looks identical. It's got the neutral, it's got the hot, and it's got the ground connection. Duplex receptacle. But in the ground receptacle, it has a camera. And can you see it? No.
Used like that. It's in everything now. You can buy thumb drives at Staples that plug into your computer and are watching who's using your computer.
Absolutely right. Hold that thought. Doc Graham's with us. Class, we did a broadcast about this, but it bears repeating. So there's another kind of camera that's really inconspicuous, looks innocuous, and what is it? Well, you know how if you have a cell phone and you've got this little plug that shaped like an ice cube, an old-fashioned ice cube. Well, really small. You plug it into the wall outlet, and then you plug your little cord, your 3-foot cord into that, and it provides USB power. Well, it's a USB cell phone charger. Okay, and they use them for lots of things, even blood pressure cuffs. Use with this type of a wall charger, wall adapter, power supply. Well, you can get one that has a camera in it, a hidden camera. Can you imagine that? A hidden camera inside a USB cell phone charger. And you can use it as a charger as well. So here you are, and you've got your kitchen outlet, and you've got your friends coming to visit, and they're on video. How much are they? About $40. Okay, and let's take it to the next level. So let's say a person wants to have a hidden spy camera, wireless, high definition, 1080 pixels, right? Well, this thing is the size of your fingernail, your pinky fingernail, okay? And it's a little square, and it's very thin, and you can activate it just by motion. Can you imagine that? So now we have a motion-activated little tiny camera that, you can't see. And as Rick said, there are Wi-Fi IP cameras, and in a light bulb, a Wi-Fi camera in a light bulb. How much? $35. So what we're saying is this stuff is relatively inexpensive, and it can be everywhere. And that's why I don't like going places. I don't do meetups anymore because I couldn't even get the meetup group to just leave their cell phones in the car. Now there are cameras everywhere, and you can't even figure out where they are because they're so small.
The implications are with children that they absolutely want to have a notebook. Even if it isn't a computer, they want a notebook, and they want a smartphone. Of course, everybody in high school now has a smartphone. I don't have one, but every single kid in high school, almost every single kid, has a smartphone. Now, this technology has gone beyond. It's now being, of course, weaponized. Why would it not be?
Yep. And all right. So let's go a little further, Rick. All right. So we talked about the little tiny specs that are motion detector cameras.
Have you noticed they are now creating batteries that are as thin as a single piece of wire? That means
these are very, very thin. Well,
they're very, very thin.
So
the cost is essentially nothing. Now that the technology of getting there, it costs a lot of money to figure out how it works. But once it was figured out, you can make it for nothing. The bad news is Mark Knopfler, when he said the music was for nothing, the chicks are never free. And the problem is we have lost something so important in terms of privacy, and we didn't even know it was gone.
So I'm looking at the internet right now at, all kinds of spy cameras and classify. If you want to see what we're talking about, you can even go to eBay, okay, and type in spy camera, and you'll see some of the things that we're talking about. I'm looking at a spy camera that anyone can buy on YouTube, and one of them is a clock, and it's a square clock. It's got a really nice face. It's a large wall clock, and it has a camera in it, and it's got Wi-Fi communications in a wall clock. So it's got a big white face, numbers. Okay, if that doesn't work, well, how about a clothes hook? One of those plastic things that you put two screws in, you hang it on the wall, and you can you hang your shirt or your pants or whatever you want on a clothes hook. Well, they have cameras in clothes hooks now. So we've got smoke detectors, we've got wall chargers. How about a desktop digital clock? One that you can set to wake you up if you want, just an alarm clock. Little tiny camera in there. And then, of course, you've got pens. An ink pen, ballpoint kind of pen, and you can write with it, and you push a little button. It's a little fatter than a regular ballpoint pen, but, a lot of people have these fat ballpoint pens anyway. Well, you can get one that's got a camera in it as well. And, of course, you have radios. Clock radios, cameras in them, and we mentioned the smoke detectors. So they're putting cameras in all kinds of things, including, but not limited to, wristwatches. How about this? How about a wristwatch that has a built-in recorder and a built-in camera? And you push the little button on the side, and you can take pictures. Isn't that convenient? So just when you least expect it, you can be on candid camera. And I don't like it, Rick. I don't want to go to restaurants. I don't want to go to people's houses. Even if they're nice people and they don't have any of this technology, they may leave their cell phone, on the kitchen table.
Fly on the wall drones you can buy now to spy in the woods, to spy in other people's home without going inside the home. There's this one deployment drone that will blow a small hole in the wall, boom, and then a bunch of other small flies go inside that hole. I have video of that on TED, This guy is showing the new smart bullets, and he shows how they work as a team, where one goes up, and its purpose is to blow a hole in the wall. It's very tiny, tiny shaped charge, usually less than 1 gram. It depends on what they're trying to go through, whether it's concrete or it's the wood. And it blows a hole, and it's a shaped charge, and then in come 20 behind it right now, drones, and they're all run from an AI called the third generation D-wave technology, not second, third wave, and third wave of what's happening up out of Abbotsford. And these little devices now, because of your trash and the garbage dump that's run by Mafia, has actually gotten DNA on all of you, so that they now can be specific to individuals using an AI on identification with DNA. Now, it has gone beyond to the point where it's time. I tell you that the 5G towers and the smart meters are an endgame weapon, where then they have able to mobilize their army in your local neighborhood, predicated on what drugs you're on.
Rick,
how's that one feel?
Yeah.
Would you like me to go further? I can tell you how this is all working, because I was there in the 70s when we started doing it. You told me we were going to talk about ketamine. You know, when I was in 1970, 74, I was in the lab next to John Moore, and different John Moore. Dr. Moore was doing ketamine, telepathine, and BZ gas studies, and Jacob's ladder drugs. That's where I was in the early 70s, developing some of this stuff, and here I am now, a sweet old man, looking back at what has now become common day. Everybody's using it. Technologies that were considered creepy and were being first weaponized. Well, I'll be glad to talk about ketamine. Ketamine was developed originally as a child's anesthesia. You know, you do a local intermuscular, and it was a nice local anesthetic. However, you inject it intravenously, and something else happens as a gating mechanism up in the brain that I'm now writing about in terms of Mandela effect and all kinds of creepy, what does this mean, time travel. I'm going to tell you, we're into a new age. Anyway, just letting everybody know, I watched the movie last night, Ender's Game. It reminded me how, as a child, I was able to separate myself by divine right, and now I am declaring war. I was the one that helped invent the original stuff. Watch what I'm going to do now to them.
Rick,
I'm angry to the point they have ruined my life, and they have ruined lives similar to me. I can't even tell you the amount of numbers. We're not even talking about the targeted individual ones. We're talking about the ones like me, where they're using a V2K technology that is beyond even what I was writing about as synthetic telepathy. Now, if you were to put a carrier wave down in subliminal zones where you can't actually hear the voice in your head, and it's hypnosis, entrainment, bandwidth frequencies, you're saying frequency following function, now you can fool somebody to walk like a duck on stage. You can't make somebody do something against their will, but you can make them cooperate. Ha 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 ha, this is fun. That's what the difference is between legerdemain and sleight of hand and sleight of mind. And I have just, as a magician, declared war on this technology. And if you don't think it's as creepy as everything you've read in comic books, you have no idea. I have been living it and finally woke up. And the way I did it, thank you very much, was that someone reminded me that here's how they got me. I was watching a free movie. I was watching Rampage, the Rock's new movie with a gorilla. It was a wonderful movie. And in comes in a secondary screen behind it, you don't say, which is soft porn. Soft porn is not pornography per se. Soft porn is like comic books and things of that nature. Howard the Duck, that's a good one.
Hey,
and
Rick, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going into a break, and we'll continue on the other side. Doc Graham's with us, and Doc Graham, you're telling us about you're watching a movie. Do you want to?
Well, you know how that works, don't you? When you're watching a movie, you're streaming, and because you're streaming, there is a requirement for an exchange of one side talking to the other side. Whenever you're watching a movie online, you're being observed right out of the gate, period, end of story, Netflix, top of the list. Watching anything on a TV screen, well, the old TVs aren't equipped unless they have a different kind of picture tube. But the LEDs, the LEDs, I've got friends up in Kelowna that are developing that right now. I have some very deep concerns, and I have only just woken up, and because I have woken up, because I'm smart, and because I am rogue, as I would be classified, not being a 8-to-5er, I am a targeted individual, right out of the gate. And that's for gang stalking protocols, Travis Stock included. The bad news is, it's no longer about the military. It is about being militarized. And there is a difference. And I'm calling on all militias of veterans to unite, because we have a war that has been brought home and is invisible to most people. They don't even know it. I didn't know it when I became a casualty with Amazon. That was done with deliberate intent. Amazon is supposed to have me talk to a high-end lawyer today from Seattle. We'll see if that actually even happens. I've noted specific news reporters, people on radio that interview me, and what they do and what they do not do. The protocol is, you can't just, like a microbiologist, simply assassinate all of them so the technology isn't out there. That's what they did on microbiology. They just took out all the scientists so that nobody knew about it. It became a deep secret, and only a few people hold it. And the microbiologists, 150 that have been assassinated over the last 3 years, is unacceptable. And whoever is doing that, in my opinion, is now defined as an alien.
Rick, I was chatting with a young person, and
Ender's Game.
Chatting with a young person who bought a new TV, and I said, "Did you buy a smart TV?" And the person said, "Yeah, that's all you can buy now. That's all you can buy now is a smart TV. You can't get a TV without the technology to record us and to watch us." And you're right. Digital there's a handshake protocol. So if you're watching Netflix, it tells. Heck, how does Netflix know when you stop in the middle of watching a video from Netflix? How does it know that when you come back on, do you want to resume where you left off? How does it know that? It knows exactly what you're doing. And if you look at it, if you look at the companies who are doing well, okay, AT&T, what are they in the business of? Spying. Netflix, I believe they're in the business of programming us and watching and spying on us as well. What about Verizon? I believe they're in the same business. What about Microsoft? Backdoors into software.
Sites you choose to look at in determining and profiling what you're going to do next.
Right, and Microsoft with its operating environment or operating system, whatever you prefer to call it. How about Google Chrome? Here's a headline right here: dailymail.co.uk. Google Chrome, warning, popular browser extension is secretly recording everything you do online. Google Chrome.
It's not just keeping a record in your computer, which you can go and clean. And there are ways of really cleaning your computer because forensics be able to take everything that you wiped and still find it.
More on this when we come back after top of the hour news and commercial announcements. I'm going to tell you how what appears to be a Phillips screw can be a camera. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Doc Ram's with us. Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Website, docram.com. Also, richardallenmiller.com. Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. And if you'd like to peruse the offerings of his writing, richardallenmiller.com. Rick, during the previous hour, I mentioned that I would discuss what looks like a Phillips screw head. Common Phillips screw head. Actually looks like a stainless steel Phillips head screw. Well, camera inside. So ladies, please pay attention to this. So you go into the ladies' room and you see screws that hold the mirror up. You know, you don't think anything of it. A common round head, pan head Phillips screw, and in the center where the two slots intersect is the camera. Okay? Where else can they be put? They can be put in the bathroom stalls. They can be in homes. Wi-Fi, wireless, Phillips screw head cameras. Can you imagine that? And for your viewing pleasure, it can be picked up by your cell phone. Imagine that. Imagine Wi-Fi that is videoed. This is outrageous. Now, how much does this cost? It's available. I'm looking at it on
toilet room next to yours. Watching you.
I'm looking at it on eBay right now. USPS. It's in stock in the United States. You can get it right now for only $36. And 14 of them, from this particular seller on eBay, 14 of them have been sold. Okay. Now, in addition to that, you know, if that's not bad enough, you can get a table lamp with a camera built in, Wi-Fi. Okay? How about
watching
eyeglasses?
Your baby, yeah, or whatever.
Eyeglasses. You can have eyeglasses less than $20. And it says here 234 or more have been sold. Free shipping. Eyeglasses with a built-in spy camera. And then, all right, this one is over the top. A water bottle. I'm talking about a blue-tinted water bottle that, boy, would make you look just like, you know, you're into nature and you want to avoid soft drinks and coffee and all that. And you can have a water bottle with a refillable water bottle, plastic water bottle, not a metal one, a plastic one that looks like you just bought it at the, you know, convenience store with a spy camera for less than $31. No kidding. Absolutely no kidding. So I'm concerned about this. I don't even want to leave my home. I really don't.
It doesn't matter. We'll come there.
Yes.
That's what the smart meter and the 5G tower is actually about. Now, with that, you have a carrier wave that carries the information in a microwave band, and you can heterodyne into bandwidths to turn on and off certain biological functions in the human being. Now, it's called frequency following function and brain entrainment. Hypnosis was another one, especially if you put your voice down and just sleep and you're going to sleep now. That is what they're doing. You can
turn on bodily functions. Is that right? With this technology?
I was able to do that by using just color and sound back in 1976 when I developed video feedback systems. I had 100 people using a buchla. I had a big buchla, and I did a screen where I put colors and geometry and flashing sounds going on, where at the push of a button of 100 people sitting there, I could make 90 of them all stand within half a second having to go to the bathroom. And I'll be writing about that in the biofeedback books I wrote called The Diamond Body, Electromagic, and Yogatronics. And I'm going to tell you something. There's way more going on, because that technology was from 1976.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm here to tell you that in terms, you have free will. That's what made you God's favorite. You have choice. The problem is, we play games with ourselves, and that's where they can trick you. Just like on Laser Main and acting and walking like a duck on stage. Whack, 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 whack.
Mm-hmm. Rick, I'm looking at another spy camera. This is you mentioned the USB device. Yes, USB device can be
that's a real common one. That has been around. And oh, by the way, if you go to Staples today, they'll give you one free at the front door. Mm-hmm. At the front door, Staples right now is giving away those free USB ports with camera. And guess what? You know it's kind of camera? Because it has an LED that lights up. Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. Works. Here's another one. You know, not everybody smokes, but some people still do. And a lot of people who smoke use, these Flick Bic lighters, right? Well, another USB camera is in what looks like a Bic lighter. Okay, so you have a lighter with a camera in it. You've got a USB thumb drive with a camera in it. You've got the wall charger with a camera in it. The smoke detector with a camera in it. The alarm clock with a camera in it. The clock radio with a camera in it. The wall clock with a camera in it. The electrical outlet with a camera in it. The wall adapter to give you 6 outlets from 2, wall camera. And the screw, the Phillips screw. And I got to tell you, of all of them, the one that I find the absolute most offensive is the Phillips screw. Because, heck, that Phillips looking screw camera can be put anywhere in a building, in a corporate setting, in a strip mall, in a doctor's office, anywhere.
In your garage.
And you won't see it. And you won't see it. I mean, literally, you could take this Phillips screw camera, and you could put it on your doorbell. So it looks like, that's just the Phillips screw that hold, there's two Phillips screws that hold the doorbell onto the molding around your front door. That could be a camera. That's just innocuous. That's just an innocuous.
They don't even need a battery in these things anymore, because that's why you have your 5G towers. They charge on the go. No longer do you have old wires that are in your bedroom, like I found several that were dead because the battery had worn out. The battery is dead. The camera's no longer. They just dispose it. It's a throwaway, like your flop phone. And I'm telling you, the technology today in your automobile, it's everywhere. It's so everywhere, and nobody's talking about it yet.
Well, we are, and okay, Rick, you're so right. It's everywhere. Let me give you a couple more examples. People have dye. They're called dice, right? If you have 2 of them, they're a single one is a die, 2 of them dice. Well, they even have a hidden camera and a microphone in a die. So which side is it? Well, the one with the 1 dot. That's the one with the camera in it. Okay. How about a baseball cap? That you see so many young people wearing. Sometimes they wear them backwards. Well, all the guys that wear them backwards, if you have one of these spy camera hats, you're gonna have to turn around forwards. Okay, if you want to see what's in front of you on the camera, you're gonna have to wear it right. So that's maybe the only good news in the hat, that you have to wear it the right way. But There
No,
are
they
so
don't,
many
because
devices.
mostly I want to see what I can't see, which is behind me. That's why you wear the red handkerchief on the left side, not the right. Oh, yeah, and forget the two gang moves. This signal and that one. There it is. It's all happening right now. And I got alerted to it when I watched a free movie and a soft porn came up behind it. And that's your first indication. It's those people that are most interested in you because that's where they're hanging out.
Well, for $16.49, you can get a picture frame with a camera in it. A picture frame. So you're looking at the picture and it's looking at you. Who would think that embedded in the picture frame is a micro dot size camera? Who would think that? This is Rich. It's everywhere.
What do you think they're going to do in the pornography set of things? Not even talking about pedophile now, the pornography, when they make a Chippendale for the woman, and it's got cameras and audio devices. We're not talking about vibrators now and blow-up dolls. We're talking about functioning robots. It goes downhill from there. You have no idea where we're going to be tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, I mean literally tomorrow morning. By the way, I meant that literally, for those that understand.
And what the devices that I mentioned are on eBay right now. How about a belt buckle? How about a belt buckle, that has a video recorder in a belt buckle? How about that? Can you imagine?
Hey, Vincent.
We're already there.
When we come back, I want to do a little experiment with you. I'm going to show you something when we come back.
Okay. All right, we'll be right back. Doc Ram's with us. I'm Vin Finelli. This is USA Prepares. Doc Ram's with us, and we're talking about spy technologies. And one thing I wanted to tell you is another one, which is a Bluetooth speaker system. So it's like a cylinder, and heck, you can have this wireless speaker and listen to whatever you want to listen to. I don't know why you have to have a wireless speaker. All our speakers are wired, but Bluetooth wireless music player and camera, spy camera built in. And a quick announcement. Tomorrow, you just heard the commercial for Dan Pilla. He talks about taxes. He's going to be on with me tomorrow. And Brandy Brogdon is going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about how she started her own business and how it works, how much time it takes. Do you have to answer the phone? She's going to tell you what happened, how she got started, why she got started, and where she is right now. Brandy Brogdon. That's tomorrow. I know Brandy Brogdon. She spent many hours with us at the expos and the meetups. So that's tomorrow. Rick, you were going to try something? An experiment?
Maybe. I don't know. I thought about it, and maybe I shouldn't let everybody know.
Okay.
But I'm going to say some things here. I've noted that there are individuals out there that are on payroll. My friend in Seattle has identified a group of individuals in Amazon in Seattle at the executive vice president level that are not part of Amazon. Now, he's a top-end criminal lawyer, defense lawyer, and has a cadre of detectives that have been working in Seattle for a long time. And there are a couple of interesting places that if you live in Seattle, I would love to have you help me cause trouble by picketing out front of their gate with some specific signs that you might hold, and see what happens next with the Seattle Police Department and how they try to handle it. I know friends. I grew up in Seattle. I've had enough. They're deploying this on the homeless in Seattle. They're experimenting, just like they did with high school kids in shootings with voice-to-skull technology. That usually involved a second handler that touches them with scopolamine. We are getting better, and once that 5G tower is in, we won't need that second shooter. It's an end-game weapon. It has been steadily developed and weaponized to the point where you don't even know it's happening, and you have absolutely no privacy. Imagine the love you have for your dog. Imagine the love you're going to have for your robot in 10 years, or millennium is going to have for his robot or her robot in 10 years, where we have no more birth. I don't know if everybody's noticed how, the amount of births that are happening are like significantly less. Have you noticed that? Because it's all part of an end game controlling the masses.
Rick,
I can tell you, it came out of
techno-
Craddock. Here it is. You can read it. On my website, the Doc Ram one, that's my Facebook, by the way. And if you want to support me, I don't want donations. Well, I'll take them. What I want is for you to buy books so that I'm selling my books. If you believe in what I'm trying to do, I want as many of my books out there as possible, and not as ebooks for when the grid goes down. I want this to be available so that there's a written word on the technologies we developed before we went somewhere else, because they're going to get deployed again and again, before, during, and after. I don't know how to put this. I'm deeply concerned, and for the part I played on it 35, almost 40 years ago. And I had no idea. I was a Boy Scout just out of college, trying to do the right thing. I was naive. I still am. And I'm having to wake up to defend myself.
We'll be right back. DocRam.com. So, Rick, years ago, we had automobiles in the early days of the automobile. There were no locks, no keys. And then we decided that automobiles and trucks needed,
Vincent,
door locks. And, yep, I'm here. Yep. Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
Can you hear?
Now I can.
Okay.
Barely, by the way.
Right, so, all right, let me go
I know he
closer
turns
to
it
the
down because I make a lot of noise when we're off air.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Rich, we had cars without locks when we first started manufacturing automobiles and trucks. They didn't have locks on the doors, didn't have locks on the ignition. Then we decided that they needed a lock and key on the door and on the ignition. And then, well, heck, that's kind of hard to lock your door on the way out. So we decided, the manufacturers decided that wireless door locks, that'd be the thing to do. Well, then it's now where you have a proximity key. So all you have to do is keep this little key fob in your pocket, and your vehicle communicates with it. It senses, it says, is the key here? Is the key here? And as you get close, it says, oh, there's the key. I can unlock the doors. And all you do is just open the door without a key. Isn't that convenient? But it's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, because what's so hard about putting a key in a lock and turning it? Well, I guess Americans don't know how to do that very well as, not just Americans, but so many people just can't figure out how to put the key in the lock and turn it. And so what happens is you have this key fob, and all you do is walk up to the car, open the door handle, and it's unlocked for you, because the car has a transmitter and receiver that senses the presence or the proximity of that key fob. And when you're close enough, it says, well, I guess it's okay because the key is nearby. And then you sit in the driver's seat and you push a button. Just push this little button, and it knows that the key's with you, and the engine starts. When you want to shut the vehicle off, you push the button. Okay, so here's what happens now. So you come home from work, you walk into your house, You lock the front door, you walk into your apartment, and you've got your keys on the counter, the kitchen counter, or wherever you happen to put them. Well, someone can take this device that can read your key through your front door and read your key code and then transmit it to a second person who just walks up with another device and opens the car because it thinks the key is right there, opens the car door, hits the button, and drives off with your car. Now, they wouldn't be able to do that if you had a key, a real key, a metal key that you inserted into the car door and unlocked it, and a metal key that you put in the ignition, turned it, and started your vehicle. So now this really neat technology allows people to steal your car by reading your key through your front door or through your window or through the side of your house. It's unbelievable. Why would we develop this technology? It makes no sense to me. Well, I guess we developed it so.
That's what they rely on, is the convenience and the fact that you don't think about it. It's automatic for you. Just like driving the vehicle, just like the new Uber helicopters. It's going to go down seriously bad shortly. And people are going to, like, because of May and others like May, everybody is now beginning to get the full implication of possibilities. There's no privacy any more than there is with God.
You know,
and when it's an artificial intelligence computer that's not human, it's not God, and it knows what you're going to do before you do, because it thinks faster. Where does that go?
Rick, we have a
singularity.
This really unusual thing is happening to us here at the farm. People are bringing their vehicles here. You know, we're not advertising that we're an auto repair shop. Okay, it's just happening. Yesterday, 3 vehicles showed up. I mean, boom, boom, boom.
Can I bring my broken transmission there, please?
Well,
I need a transmission. I actually do.
Well, for things that are, you know, maybe a little more complex than the average person wants to, the average operator of a car or truck, you know, is ready to tackle. And, you know, things like the air conditioning doesn't work, or something, you know, like transmission work, or doesn't shift right, or the engine's blown. I mean, all kinds of things are happening, and vehicles they're just showing up. I mean, people, they're renting U-Haul tow dollies, and they're bringing their vehicles here on tow dollies. So there's 2 trucks here right now that showed up. One guy wants an engine, and another guy wants a transmission replaced. So we're going to be doing that. Our son is decided he's going to do it. Okay, so he's helping these people, and these vehicles are just showing up. Yesterday, one showed up that had one of these electronic remote wireless entry systems and starting systems. And my son said to me, "Hey, Dad, would you mind, you know, backing this out of the shop?" And we have a full automotive shop. We built it for ourselves, not to be in a business, but we built it for ourselves. And so this relatively new vehicle was here, and so I said, "Sure, you know, I'll back it out. I'd be glad to." And he said, "Okay, just step on the brake and hit the button." So all it has is exactly what I'm talking about. One of these key fobs. And so some of the cars that have these, well, I know Chevrolet does, and BMW, Ford, Audi, Land Rover, Hyundai, Volkswagen, and the chicken foot. The chicken foot is the logo of the Mercedes. So just a thought. So what do you do? So what do you do if you have one of these vehicles and you don't want your key to be used remotely to have your vehicle stolen? What do you do? From having somebody outside your front door or outside your window hold up this box that communicates with your key and then transmits to another box, which the second guy has to hop in to open your car door and drive off with it. Well, what you do, the least expensive thing to do is put it in a metal box. Cookies used to come in metal cookie tins, okay? It's a Faraday cage. That's what you do. Okay? You put it in a Faraday cage. What's another Faraday cage? A couple layers of aluminum foil. But isn't it ridiculous that you now have this really convenient key that you have to wrap and unwrap in aluminum foil to prevent your car from being stolen? Think about that. Think about that. So I think technology is amusing. It's interesting. Sometimes it's convenient. But it seems that more and more it's being used against us.
Well, the weaponization of it.
Yeah.
Everything has a double edge.
Yeah. So my parents were here in Missouri, and they had an insurance company that was centered on the East Coast, and health insurance. And what happened was some bimbo, some gal who worked for one of these companies, had her notebook computer with the database of, over 100,000 customers on her computer. The computer gets stolen out of her vehicle, careless. She leaves it where it can be seen. Just a bimbo. She leaves it. First of all, why does she have the database on her notebook computer anyway, right? So she's got it. It gets stolen, and then my folks get letters. Security has been compromised, and you need to change your accounts. Which accounts? All of them. Why? Because Social Security numbers were there. Home addresses were there. First, last, and middle initial were there. Okay? Account numbers were there. From this bimbo who is careless, who should be fired immediately. So what happens? So 100,000 plus people have to change their accounts. Which accounts? Well, that would be checking accounts. That would be credit card accounts. That would be bank accounts. So we spent, a couple hours, actually half a day probably, telling all of these financial institutions who had nothing to do with this that we needed new accounts. And they go, okay, that's no problem. Are you kidding? They had to reissue all the credit cards? And then, if you have automatic bill pay, some people do. So like if you have a CenturyTel account, CenturyTel phone line, they say, hey, we'll give you $10 off the outrageous monthly bill if you will have an automatic pay. So then you've got your automatic pay linked to your credit card or to your bank account. And you got to call them up too and say, hey, by the way, that number that we gave you before, that doesn't work anymore because we have a new account number, a new bank account number. And how long does it take to get through to CenturyTel? 20 minutes. That's CenturyTel. And then all the other organizations that have your credit card on file, they don't work anymore because your account has been closed and reopened with a new account number. All because of this bimbo on the East Coast. And is she the only bimbo? No, there are plenty of bimbos. They're all over. We're surrounded by bimbos. So this identity theft is happening all the time. And people think that, boy, these electronic accounts are really good. I can pay my bills online. How convenient that is. Mrs. Finelli and I send checks in the mail because we don't want to be hacked. We don't want our electronic ID compromised because it happens too often. Rick, when we come back, I'd like to talk about the sun and what I have measured, and it's disconcerting. We'll be right back. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, docram.com, also richardallenmiller.com, Richard A-L-A-N Miller.com if you'd like to buy some of his books. I've got them here, and you can get them autographed, right from Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Rick,
thank you.
During I broadcast from our farmhouse here in Missouri. And when I was on a local radio station, I decided that I could save a lot of time instead of going back and forth to Springfield every day, 5 days a week, I could build a studio in my home and broadcast from my home. And that's where I'm broadcasting right now. And I use the same studio or same equipment that I built years ago right here on GCN. And so it's kind of nice because I get to do things during some of the commercial breaks. I'm actually working during the commercial breaks. And during the last commercial break, I ran outside to water the garden. Okay? And why did I do that? Now, normally I water the garden at night. If the sun's going down, that's the time to water your garden. Well, I can't do that anymore. I have to water it twice a day because the tomato plants, which are quite healthy, they're in buckets. They're in 20-gallon buckets. And there's one plant per bucket, and there's a tomato cage around it. And maybe I should take some pictures of that so you can see how we do it. It's really an efficient way of building tomato cages inexpensively, and they're better than what you can buy. Well, anyway, the leaves are curling like crazy. The plants are wilting. And so, I water them, and they've got plenty of water. It's not like they're neglected, because I really love tomatoes. Well, here's what I found out. So since Obama is no longer at the head of the corporation, and we have Donald Trump, the chemtrails have almost stopped. We have a few, every couple of days, but it wasn't the 30 or 40 that we used to have. And so the sun is, really bright. Really bright. Now, we used to get about 32. We have a solar system, and we power this broadcast and the farm via solar. And we would generate typically 32 to 34 kilowatts a day. Right? Well, lately, in the last, let's say 10 days, our solar power generation is way, way up. Now, I haven't changed anything in our solar array. We're getting about 1/3 more solar power than we used to. So now, instead of generating 32 to 34 kilowatts, we're generating 44 kilowatts. It's about 1/3 more. That's a huge increase. Normally, you have to do a lot of work to get an increase like that. More equipment, that kind of thing. Well, we didn't have to do it. So the point is, the grass is dying. It is turning to dust. Our fields have produced 1/4 the amount of grass that they did previous years. 1/4 the amount. Not a quarter down, 75% down. Okay? The tomato plants are dying, and our solar power system is telling me that the sun is at least 1/3 stronger. Okay? What are your thoughts?
This is the advent of what's called a solar minimum, where the sun reduces its internal activity to such a point that as it streams through space like a comet going very quickly, it encounters garbage in deep space. Previously, a couple years back, we went through what were called dragon tails. They were ionized streams of ionized gases. What's happening when it's in a solar minimum is that the sun does not absorb it. And what it does is it goes around the sun and hits the various planets. And the planets are spiraling. If you want a metaphor, the Earth doesn't circle the sun. It spirals at it, trying to catch up to it, spiraling. And it's behind the sun, and so the garbage that is not the sun is running into, instead of hitting the sun, it's going around the sun and going in its debris trail, and the Earth gets to enjoy that part of it as a metaphor. Now, what that means is the UVBs, the long ultraviolet radiation and gamma rays, are increased maximally during this solar minimum thing. And what will happen is that the Earth expands, earthquakes happen, and guess what else? Land masses will change because of the expansion of the weight of Earth having gained actually 0.6